I'm going to begin. Hi, my name's Nick. You may know me on Slack as Mad Scientist or on Answers as Sideview. I also was one of the first engineers back at Splunk, and I've always had a fondness in my heart for the original versions that we did, like a super long time ago. And seated next to me here, actually, although he's not formally part of this talk, is Brian Murphy, employee number 1 of Splunk, the search engineer who built all of search.
Sometimes.
So,
Very much very nostalgic.
sometimes to know where we are going, or even where we are, we have to know where we came from. The early Splunk UIs have kind of a bad rap because they're so old, no one's ever seen them. And you don't realize how much was actually in them from the very beginning. So I'm going to take us back. Initially, this is 1.0 GA of Splunk. We released this in August 2005 at Linux World. Oh, and I'm supposed to be wearing, I have the shirt that I wore. It's in my backpack. Hold on. I know, it's insane. Did I lose all my mic or anything? This is the shirt that I wore, and I hate this shirt, so I never wear it. It's super uncomfortable. They're awful. That's why I still have it. And anyway, but it's funny, to understand 1.0 first, you kind of have to go back to but this was August 2005, and I started in March 2005. Brian started August 2004. So just between when I started in March 2005 and this 1.0 GA, we had 2 alphas, 4 betas, and then this GA, in between which we basically kind of rebuilt quite a large amount of the product. So we kind of iterated extremely quickly so let me just dive right in a little bit. We have to note how many of the features that Splunk had right away. This really annoyed everybody, but basically you could click anything and it would search for things. So it was a really annoying product back in 2005 because most things didn't and so when you would switch tabs back into the window, it would it searches for things. And I remember some customer like, you made everything clickable? Like everything? There was nothing that was not clickable on the page. There's no safe place to click my mouse just to switch focus. It was really maddening. We've all been trained as humans to find the super blank space that probably doesn't do anything. But no one had that training. So you could click you could click this histogram, and you could click and shift click the histogram and zoom into things, and what the hell's even happening? So, and this, you had multiple indexes right here. Over on the right, we can switch to different indexers. Internal was then called Splunk Logger.
Unknown source type.
And yeah, unknown source type because we didn't. I probably committed all kinds of horrible sins setting this 1.0 build up to run in the modern era. You don't want to know what they are. We had type ahead, so as you type, you're getting token autocomplete right into the index.
Type behind.
We had type behind as well, so, oh God, I forgot. No, don't let me do it, because it'll probably seg faults. Actually, we can see a couple seg faults in the Splunk logger here, so it was a little bit of an unstable build. But it was good enough. We had a histogram here. Obviously, you see, you could click and shift click, you could zoom in, zoom out. So you can get in, and hold on, I'm going to demo the sub-histograms, which for some reason I worked really, actually I have to go back in time to beta 1 and beta 2. So if I mouse over like this event type, it's good. Those are all the pipeline events. This little sub-histogram will show up showing me where all the pipeline events are. I've actually tagged these.
Those event types are all discovered as far as I remember.
Yes, these $5, $2, this was the very first event typer, of course, Carasso made. Carasso made almost all of the intelligence, mining and intelligence features. So automatic source type detection, automatic timestamp extraction, datetime XML is pretty much unchanged from this era. The content of datetime XML got better, but the raw framework was still there. Event types were something that he cooked up this stuff, and it took us a while to even understand what in the hell he had done. Like, how did you implement this? What the hell is this? But it worked. It was weird-ish. So we can go and see our event types. I spent some time this morning going and tagging some of them. So we had event type tags. We had source type rename, which of course later became, we had tags. For some reason, as tag clouds were very popular, so we implemented them as a tag cloud. This was, remember, 2005.
Some very big fights.
very big fights with products over tags. Yeah, event type tags became a huge warfare in 2.0, 3.0. Am I forgetting skins? So, notice the super responsive interface we have here. 2005, nothing really did that. Invert. We had a dark mode. So let's go see some sub-histograms in dark mode. I know, right? So let's go. Should we go back in time here? Because actually from 1.0, I'm going to go back in time again and go back to the betas. But let me see if I... Fish bucket is here and recognizable as the hidden fish bucket index. Yeah. The back button all works. This is all using client-side XSL, hidden iframe, because XML HTTP request was not, strictly speaking, reliable in 2005. So there's a hidden iframe doing all this horrible XSLT.
We put a lot of work into giving you everything you needed in one call.
Everything you needed in one call. Yes, the REST API was restful but insane.
Is this REST over SOAP?
Yes. Yeah, between Splunk Web and, oh God, there was like this 3-layer burrito of escaped XML in a REST call. So we learned a lot in a short period of time. So let me go back to and show, here, I'll bring this back over here so I don't drive myself crazy. So alpha screenshots, when I was, oh nice. When I was hired, there was a designer, Gino Zond, who was awesome and curmudgeonly, even though he was exactly our same age. And he got in an argument with Michael Baum about a month into my tenure and got precipitously fired in a fishbowl glass conference room with the entire company watching horrified, thus initiating the first of several lamentable periods where Nick Mealy technically owned the design of the product.
So, to be fair to Gino, he went on to find the very successful
Gino's amazing.
Rentley startup in
yes, and he came back and contracted at Splunk for a bit after a while, and I ran into him in the halls. But that was like 10 years later, or 15. Anyway, so this is the period where I suddenly have a lot of design comps because I had to keep them. Before that, I don't have very much. Oh, I'm on the wrong monitor. There. Hang on. These are some of the first, I'll turn this way, some of the first comps from first alphas, I think.
Find Connected, I remember that.
Yeah, Connected, we had...
Yeah.
Oh, they just released a similar thing.
Connected.
They talked about a similar thing that uses machine learning today, and I just lost it laughing to myself.
Yeah, Connected was, I was directed by senior management, let's say founders, to sell the sizzle and the possibility of what we could do rather than something that actually worked.
Right. I'll come back to Connected, actually, I think. This is one of the first comp sites for the website, which was a sort of weird combination of a SourceForge brochureware site and an active like Splunk Base repository for event data. This is one of the comps. This is not a running build. This is just a comp. User : Brian is of course user. There's no equals in the search language. There are only :
I lost that fight. I'm still sad about it.
This is why there's still hidden : syntax. If you want to search for the raw index field tokens, you still have to use : So there's still in there. Yeah. So I have this. Let's just make it run. Oh, it's not going to run, is it? I don't have the screen grab of beta 4, which is unfortunate. Because that has the orange histograms. Okay, that's bad. Let's go back, go find beta 4. Yeah, we don't have the orange histograms. There were orange histograms for a while, and I lost that fight. And they spent a brief time going through green as the highlight color, and then they landed on blue for quite a many years before we came back to green. And now we've come back to orange.
Yes. You see, it says Splunk Professional. Or
yeah,
Splunk Free
Professional.
and Splunk Professional.
Yeah. Okay, coming back out. Let's go back to the product. I found all this content somewhat late in composing this talk. That's why this sequence is a little stranger. So here we are, 1.0 still, responsive interface. If I switch to the events tab, we have all the clickability and stuff. Oh, Odysseus.js, I wanted to say a word about this. Because Ajax was so wildly popular, and I was, for some reason, really into refactoring. I created one giant JavaScript file called odysseus.js. Odysseus, if you are a classics nerd, is the guy who basically taunted Ajax to death. And no one got the joke, and occasionally integrators would be like, seriously? Odysseus? What? Can't you just call it something? Like, the whole file says go away. So what did Splunk 1.0 not have? It had no reporting of any kind. It did have the back button. I wrote no back button here, but I'm wrong. It had no distributed search. It had no forwarding. It had no TCP UDP inputs. No REST API that you were supposed to use. No star search. You couldn't just like search for star. You had to remember to do meta : all.
Oh, yeah. That's because every event was actually given this token. So you got to realize is that there wasn't any fields here. All there were was tokens. So when you search for
There's no
user
KV extraction.
Brian, you're actually just a token indexed that is user : Brian, which is why I fought against equals for a while, because it really wasn't an equals. You're actually explicitly searching for those tokens. Sorry, rant over.
It's all good. We're all still fighting our battles. There's an admin section that doesn't have very much in it. Actually, this is kind of funny. So that little hidden iframe that's doing all the client-side XSL, which is crazy fast, even in 2005. There's this whole other CPU on the client that no one's using, and there's this like compiled XSLT engine that's ridiculously fast. So we used it. No one did that. That's insane. So the same one, we now make it visible and use it to render actual HTML to us. So then, if we use the back button, you could get to tangle this thing up and get it to show you the garbled XML content, which is fun. There's almost nothing in here, though, so that's what I wanted to show you. That might be because this is the free build, not the professional build, because I didn't have a license for the... Obviously, all the licensing timestamps are long since expired. There's datetime.xml. Directory monitor is really what we now call sinkhole inputs. And there were no apps. There's no conf files of any kind. Anything you had to configure was in XML. But there was a fully configurable input pipeline, which you may remember was launched today as
DSO.
DSP. So DSP. So,
but yeah, so you got to realize we had no search time operation. You had search and you had input. So we had to do everything a priori at index time, rather than doing anything post search.
While you're doing that, I'm going to bring up 2.0.
So yeah, so everything had to be. You had to have that pipeline configured to tokenize and index your data correctly, rather than try to do anything later on. Once it was in, and there was nothing you could do about it. So you better hope you got it right.
Yeah.
And I think this probably ran at about 5K a second of indexing speeds.
There was when Andre came in, he was like, "You guys, if you're not pegged on I/O, then you're not doing your job."
Yeah.
And it took a while.
It took a long time to get pegged on I/O.
Carasso used to run races of the latest Splunk build, which whenever someone was sufficiently excited about performance improvements, you would run a race of Splunk versus regex
or WC or
yeah. And then announce proudly that WC had won or that regex had won. So, but then eventually Splunk started winning that battle hands down, and everyone got very happy again. Okay, I am just bringing down 1.0. Come on, you can do it. It's just sort of a judicious kill-9 period too.
Probably, yeah. There was a long period where the shutdown was a segfault.
Yeah. Oh, I have a bunch of them.
We hid that. We had for a long time. Splunk stop segfault, but we just we swallowed the segfault and said, okay.
Okay. Oh God. Sorry. I'm glad I didn't try and write scripts for this because it keeps changing. Browsers actually changed in the last year. This demo was a lot easier to give last year because all browsers decided you're not supposed to iterate over style sheets and monkey with their contents anymore. Apparently that's a bad idea.
Nah, it's all good.
It's all good. Okay, 2.0 coming up. No, this is hurting my brain. So
Next year we'll containerize all this, right?
Say it again?
Next year we'll run all in a Docker.
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of getting there. I thought it'd be fine, but I did yum update at one point in the last year, and that was a bad idea.
Also, this only ran on Linux. There was never, no other kind of build.
There's screenshots of localhost, but it's just us. We used a lot of SSL SSH tunnels back in the day, so.
Yeah. I ran on a Linux laptop for a long time.
So hopefully this one will run. Let's see. Woohoo! So this is 2.0. Oh, and 1.0, last time I gave this talk, I didn't mention any people's names. I did it deliberately, but it was really a weird mistake. So I'm trying to fix that one this year. For design and UI, Gino Zond and Philip Benstead actually worked on a lot of the early betas, because when Gino was fired, I would go over to his house after our day jobs and work until like midnight and get drunk, and he and I would design comps. So that's where that beta look and feel came from. And then Jeff Beekus eventually came, thank God.
Oh, yeah.
And that was around the 2.0 time frame that he showed up. And we started having a real designer again.
Yeah, Jeff is awesome.
Yeah. And I think Chris Rhodes came in towards the end of the 2.0 time period too. So this is 2.0. Am I really going to jump right to the pyramids? Okay, let's go right to the pyramids.
Oh, yes.
First, let's go to Splunk Logger because the segmentation is a little bit better. In Splunk in 2.0 and 1.0, you didn't have any of this fancy pants phrase search or Bloom filters or any of that stuff. You had minor breakers and major breakers.
And that was all you had.
That was it. There's nothing else.
Yeah. So if you wanted a phrase, you got to make sure that was minorly broken.
So we are set right now for segment selection full.
Yeah.
You may notice there's this other funny one, full with pyramids. I'm just going to click it, and then you're going to be like, and now, so now you're every customer of 2.0, like, I seem to have, someone was like, I seem to have activated some kind of Halls of Montezuma mode. Can you tell me how to get out of it?
This is really useful.
This was really useful. Exactly. I checked this in as a debug tool because I was having trouble with the rendering. Because this is client-side XSLT rendering nested label tags, I think. If you look at the DOM, it's horrible. And then manipulating the CSS DOM to actually insert rules for which one should be highlighted and which one should not, which is how it does the highlight everywhere. Like, it's not just highlighting one segment, it's highlighting all of them on the page. But debugging the system in the front end was hard. I checked this in just kind of as an internal tool for me, basically. And then at Swan, Eric was like, no, don't take that out. We're using that to debug the segmentation. Like, okay. So then it shipped, and then it shipped for a while. It's in 3.0 too.
That was really useful for sending on the customer side. You'd be like, okay, let me show you how your logs are being parsed. This is how it is. This is your problem right here.
And then eventually phrase search came along, and lots of stuff came along, and this became something for the backend to optimize, and the users didn't have to worry about it anymore. But it is still kind of the reason why some searches are slow.
Yeah, like for example, not equals isn't great, right? So I think if you do a not equals is no fun.
This is the most exciting thing ever. I haven't seen this guy in 10 years, and I see him yesterday. Okay, we dived right into pyramids. There is something called Splunk to Splunk. It bears no relation to anything that you've ever heard of. And it was the beginning of us poking at distributed search, I think? Or was it forwarding? Forwarding. Okay, Splunk to Splunk was actually forwarding. Yeah. But it wasn't. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. It's not that at all. It was the first one that was thrown away before S2S was built. And then there were actually ODBC inputs. There were TCP and UDP inputs. Save Splunks. Everything was, so this was when Splunk, for some reason, we thought it was a good idea for Splunk to be a noun. And so there's save Splunks everywhere, and save this Splunk. And then someone had the bright idea of that it should also be a verb. And so there were these wireframes and comps of like, save your save Splunks, and then Splunk your save Splunks later inside Splunk, and you're a great Splunk. And so like, Jesus, slow down, guys. You can't have like every other word be Splunk on these pages. Our users are going to lose their minds. And so to prove this point, and we lost the battle, and like Jeff, we just couldn't convince. Basically, Ferlin really wanted it to be. Anyway, probably Baum wanted it to be a verb and a noun. That actually makes the most sense. Yeah. I'll blame him. Yeah. And so this is just kind of us being jerks. We checked in. There was this whole framework in here for system integrators to use so they could quickly customize the interface, because we didn't know if this was going to be a giant public company like it is, or if it was just going to be some little thing that was bought for $500 million as an OEM thing or something. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
At the time, we were very much open to white labeling. Yeah. So it was like kind of, hey, we want people to white label, you run this on top of your firewall logs or some other like.
But we didn't make it easy for them. No. So they were like, I want to change the UI. How do I do that? And we're like, yeah. That's great. So there were a lot of backdoors put into this code eventually for system integrators to customize and white label Splunk. And that left room for an Easter egg in those docs. It says step 1 to change the tab list, do this. Step 2 to change what the homepage looks like, alter these Python arrays. Step 3, and then you got down to step 7. And it was like, what are you doing? You're not allowed to read this. This isn't even for you. Go away. Okay, fine. If you got this far, this is how you customize the skins. And the default that was commented out had a Smurf skin, which we shipped. We shipped the static files for the Smurf skin for the entire 2.0 release. I think just because no one else noticed who had the power to make us stop. And we were a little quiet about it. So, hold on, I have to, sorry. This is what the Smurf skin looks like over here. And the page in question, I should show that first. So there's Save Splunks. If I go to Save Splunks, I go to Manage My Splunks. Oh, right, I don't even have it's not even really a link. Admin Splunks, I don't have any, I should have created one. Anyway, admin Splunks. Yeah, this is what I was trying to get them to stop. So they manage my, we're gonna go back. And events by time. So back to the regular basic skin. Oh, shoot, I messed it up.
You made the Splunk gods angry.
I made it sad, yeah. Well, there's a dark mode skin here as well, but I'm not going to show it even though it's a little cool. And there is a Splunk assistant that began life as, let me show it. It began life as this really tiny little thing that said, you just clicked on a term. Maybe try and click the timeline or open show events by time. And this was trying to solve a discoverability problem where no one had any idea how to use this product at all. So we had an assistant. Over time, the assistant grew and grew and grew and had far too much content in it. It had links and tabs and subpages, and it was a kind of a nightmare. But for a brief happy time, we made it into haikus. And I actually found all the haikus. And so each one was like, snow falls upon cedars. Try clicking the histogram or something. And we have like
Search syntax.
the search syntax for.
You can do the cheat sheet.
This is probably a /r link to extremely confused Splunk.com. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
The cheat sheet is we didn't ship it.
No, we didn't ship it. We didn't really ship anything that we couldn't put on the website. I've had fun with a lot of the integrations with Splunk Base. That some of the hosts are still there, and there must be like, what are you posting to me? Stop it. So I wanted to go back and show what we turned the Splunk assistant to in the Smurf skin. It was just Smurfette. That was her. So I think I got through. Oh, I didn't talk about the configurable pipelines. They shipped a Python processor, which technically you could do stuff with, I think.
Yeah, you could basically run a Python script and write a Python script and have that called inline
as the data's being indexed.
As the data's being indexed to process your data. So.
And there was one in there that was shipped called Test Processor 1, which was my favorite.
Yeah.
Or Test Processor 2, or maybe both of them were in there.
I think were in there, yeah. Do we have the Uber processor there as well?
Oh, God.
Which was a regex extraction processor that did it was a Swiss Army knife of everything you could do with regex.
Oh, nice.
Inline.
Which probably is that now it's Z command, right?
Yeah, it's Rex, basically.
Okay. I don't want to talk about cleaning products. If you ever wonder why Mr. Sparkle is in the path of all, okay, maybe you do. Maybe you do want to know why Mr. Sparkle is in there. I saw a couple nodding heads. This was the 2.0 UI here. Well, I should turn off the Smurfs. No, I'll leave Smurf up. And we wanted to build the new one while we were building the old one, but we weren't crazy about forking the repository all the time we had to do anything. So
a wise decision.
We built in this thing that you could still do. It was still in the CLI help for quite a while. Splunk set web version, and then you would give it a string, and it would set, instead of looking in share Splunk search, it would look in share Splunk search underscore Mr. Sparkle, or underscore OxyClean, or underscore PineSol. We did OxyClean. We needed a name for the old reliable 2.0 UI that didn't fail, and the new crazy one that might bleach your sweater, and we landed on PineSol versus OxyClean. And then when 4.0 came out, sorry, this was 2.0 and 3.0. When 4.0 came out, we needed one that was like a cleaning product that's just deranged. And if you're familiar with The Simpsons, the Mr. Sparkle cleaning product is what we picked. So
that's stuck around for quite some time.
It was really useful. They really should have kept using it to just switch forward and backward, because you could just they could have developed the 5.0 UI on top of the, I guess because we stopped using it.
Yeah, it meant you couldn't make any breaking changes to the API though, so.
That's true.
Which is fair enough.
Which is fair. It's funny that it's still there though. because it's like an unnecessary directory.
It's like a very early version of feature switches, right? So,
yeah. So I got through that field picker. Oh yeah, I think I'm done with 2.0. Yes, sir. All right. I'm not going to do that. That's insane. Oh, and this was a much bigger company. So Jeff Beekes was here doing design. Chris Rhodes, I think, was in the back, and very few people remembered him like a year later, which was weird. He just sat in the back behind the wall.
yeah.
Remember Chris? Yeah, so no one remembers Chris. I had many conversations with Grosso where he's like, who's this guy you keep talking about? Like, he sat next to you for like a month. Fine. And Ben Strawbridge was here working on quite a lot of these screens. John Vei Wang came in at the end of the cycle. Beth Goldman came in at the end of the cycle, was a designer for us, that was the awesome designer. And I'm moving on to 3.0. All right. So, 3.0 lived for a really, really long time, which was good and bad. The 3.0 release, so 1.0, hang on. I had it here somewhere. 1.0, August 2005. 2.0, late 2005. So we not only did 4 public betas and 2 alphas, and then a 1.0 GA in the first half of 2005. We then did all the maintenance releases, 1.1, 1.2, and 2.0 before even the end of 2005, I think.
I don't think I slept very much in 2005.
We worked all the time.
Yeah.
And
there was definitely one period where I worked 7 days a week for 6 months.
Yeah. We didn't see our families much.
Unless they came to the office to drink with us.
There was a funny list of questions you're not allowed to ask new hires.
Yeah.
One of them was like, how do you feel about gaining 30 pounds? How do you feel about not seeing your families for the next 6 months? Yeah, those are accurate. So that happened. There were some fun moments though, working in the middle of the night. 3.0, bring it up. Okay, 3.0 is way easier to bring up. Oh my God. In fact, I'll just leave 2.0 running because it doesn't even do anything.
There was lots of Chinese food and Indian food consumed.
Yes. Lots of, was it Waiters on Wheels? And before that. What was before that? Meals on Wheels. No, before that. It's too
Waiters
long
on Wheels
ago.
is definitely there, so.
Totally. 3.4, this is actually 3.4.14 that I'm going to bring up. And just because. I don't know. I didn't want to mess around with things crashing on me. But this build is actually from 2010, which is really weird. So 3.0 came out in 2007 in August. And then the whole 3.0 line lived for a really long time until 2010. And in 2.0 I didn't show it. There's Etsy bundles and Etsy apps. And remember, there's no UI for apps. You couldn't go to an app. That was a phrase that made no sense in the 2.0 or in the 3.0 timeframe for that matter. But in 2.0 you had to fight through the fact that there was not only user level config, there was Etsy apps and Etsy bundles and Etsy system. And no one could explain why there was both. Yeah, okay. So it was horrible going back into the file system was like, oh God, I forgot about all these things.
I remember that this is before we even had B-Tool. So
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea what, like, you didn't have any
B-Tool.
way to debug anything of what is actually being applied.
Bundle tool or Brad tool? What is the B and B tool? There's been a bit of a debate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bundle, I think.
Bundle?
I think it was bundle, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was maybe a bit of both, but I think it was officially bundle at least.
Okay. Come on, almost there. Oh, right. Sorry, I have to. Etsy Linux. Everyone's so worried about Etsy Linux. You can't run this flag with the other ones, but you have to run it with this one. That was dumb. My mistake. Okay. June. I think it was August 6, 2007, based on press releases. Maybe we went Code Complete or something earlier.
We've had some pre-releases.
Oh yeah, maybe we like gave it to some people. That would make sense. There's still no apps menu. I'm gonna bring it up. But it still checks for updates with Splunk.com, and Splunk.com is like, what are you doing? You really shouldn't run 3.0. That's insane. But this code that we wrote, me and Ashley wrote, it still works, which is weird. The old quick draw code. No thanks, I am not ready to update. I love my 3.0.
If you, when you start Splunk from the CLI, if you say no to the license, it crashes the product. So you say, you start it says, yes, you accept the license, user license. If you say no, the whole thing crashes.
Actually, you're reminding me of something. I'm going to bring it up. Do I have it here? I hope so. Chats. Oh, I'll do it at the end. There was a thread, me and Amrit's like, how do you use the UI to give a search result that has no results? You need to test something. And I was like, I don't know, foo, not foo. Search for a source type that doesn't exist. Or you do related colon 3, 1 colon 1 2, and then I like mash a bunch of numbers, and then I send it to him, and this is like IRC, and then I'm like, oh wait, don't run that last one, it might segfault. Because it's just the bucket number and the seek pointer into the bucket. So I just typed random digits, man. I don't know if that's a valid seek pointer. so the number's like, yeah, that's segfaulted. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Those IDs were just pointers into the GZ files.
They're still there. It's underscore CD.
Yeah.
The underscore CD is just the bucket and then the seek pointer into it.
And they nothing. They weren't even complete because half of it was lived. The source type and the host and everything lived externally from that.
Oh God! Yeah. So you couldn't even get it. You had to walk back from it anyway.
Oh, sorry. The first time I did export was a pain.
Okay, I actually have a demo that I worked out the other day. All right. So access combined. So we get to the right monitor. Broadly speaking, it's aside from the time controls moving around and like some of the colors changing, it's pretty much the same product, except you may have noticed in the early beta screenshots, there was a sidebar, and the event summaries went to the sidebar, and there were little histograms in there, and fields in there and stuff. Well, actually, there weren't really fields at all, but there were some. There were source type, and then in 1.0 GA or from beta 4, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, there were tabs across the top here, and then it wasn't until 4.0 we went back to the sidebar. But only 5 minutes? Okay. Then I'll go faster.
1 second, I just want to call out that blue thing underneath the bar where it says your search exceeded the max results limit.
Yeah.
To return more results, make your search more restrictive. That is just some awesome English right there. Because we really could only return 50,000 results in this UI and bucket 50,000 results because all of this happened a layer above the index.
Oh God! So I can add fields, and they appear in these tabs, and these tabs have little breakouts in them, and then they in turn have like report on this field. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click on one of the referrer domains. Here's one. It's going to search on that. And now let's say I come into report on results. This was the first release where we had reporting. And here, no one could figure out what to do. So we put an arrow, and then no one saw the arrow. So then we made the arrow bigger, and no one saw the arrow. So then we're just going to put this gigantic arrow in here. And then that worked. And it stayed that way for like 4 years. So you can actually click on, I'm going to clear this filter out actually. You can click on anything here. This is, KV is fully happening here. These are, I'd have to run Flash. Because it's 2007. The report on referrer domain. And except I don't want to see top values. I want to see, what's I going to do? Actually, I guess top values. Method split by. Split by method. Let's do that. So you could do categorical reporting, time chart reporting. You could drill in. If you drill in on these, it's going to do the right thing. If you notice, the SPL at the top here is actually changing as we're clicking around in the UI. And everyone sort of assumes that since we rebuilt the search language in 4.0, well, not me, I had nothing to do with it, but since the search language was rebuilt in 4.0, that it must have been created in 4.0, but quite a lot of it was already in there in 3.0, and that's why there wasn't a lot of opportunity to change the names of things. We were kind of stuck with the names that we had picked way long before. not to make excuses. You can also click on. You can click on like a second field and like do multiple categorical field reportings with like multiple split bys, and you could do all kinds of crazy stuff. Click your way to it, see what the SPL was. I think a lot of these users learned how the SPL worked because they had this clickable tool. And you could go the other way too. You could go and say, I'm just going to paste in a string, and it would, in theory, go back and update the UI. So it was bidirectional. It actually parsed the search language and then push the change back into the UI. So you could then click your way, you could paste something in and then change the one thing you needed to change. And if I only have a couple minutes left, I have to say all the people. Oh my God, look at those people. We had a big team for this. This was a great cycle. So Jeff Bekas, Micah Delfino came in, and there was one meeting. He was in the UI group. He was like the only designer. Everyone else was a developer. And he was like, why am I in this room? After we'd talked for like 20 minutes. Beth Goldman, Ben Starbridge, Jean-Wei Wang, Jason Gatt, Carl Yestro, Ivan Tam, and probably a lot more designers and developers that I'm forgetting about. But that takes us to 3.0, or 3.4, sorry, 3.4.17. I got 20 more minutes? Oh, cool. Well, that's bonus. Hey, yeah. Hey, this is like the fake ending slide. Thanks for coming. Hold on, just stay tuned. We have more papers here. So, what else did I say I wanted to go back and look at? Oh my God. It's not particularly hard to segfault Splunk. We could try and do that.
A little bit fragile, but this is probably like the first start of our kind of commercial success. Let's say.
Yeah. This is a lot of
customers at this point.
people were actually buying this at this
If
point.
you see this max results per search, that
Yeah.
was literally, you couldn't get anything more than that.
What, can I just send this to 500,000?
Oh, you can.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not going to do that. That seems like a bad idea.
Let's
go back to search results. Oh, and 3.0 had this weird licenser where it lets you violate your license for like 5 minutes. So I have to restart 3.0 now. Which is fine.
You don't have the XGR5?
Say it again?
Is XGR5 done on this
I don't know what that is.
license reset tool that we shipped for like 3 years? The hidden one that Amit wrote? Yeah. So we shipped a binary that would reset, because we had so many people having so many problems with the licenser. We shipped a binary that had a really random name that would reset your Splunk license. So a professional services could go in and on site and just log in and just reset the license and all was well.
That might have been on a need-to-know basis, and I don't know why I would have needed to know that.
It's certainly not there now.
Who knows? Well, I kind of, let's see. Maybe that's it. Well, let's do the skin again, because I don't think I've shown the 3.0 skin. Preferences, general. Ooh, desert. Let's see if it'll work. No, browsers are bad at me now.
You just defeated the license though.
Oh yeah, because I restarted.
Oh, you started.
All you have to do is restart, and it would come back for it. Give you another 10 minutes. I don't think it was on purpose. I think it just took a while for it to reach the check.
It was a job that probably crashed the first time it happened, and then probably ran later. Raw was cool.
Raw was cool, yeah.
Raw events. Faster. Because we're pushing back a lot of XML here. An awful lot of XML.
Oh God! And I was going to try, and we had an expandable thing here.
Do we have infinite scroll here?
I forgot about the infinite scroller. Thanks, Brian. So this was like many, many late nights. We eliminated the pager and we implemented an endless scroller. And so, check out. I probably need less data.
You can see it going. It's going.
See the little cursors? These little tiny red lines. These are actually telling you where you are as you page through the set. And I had to do a great deal of work to get this working. Remember, this is 2007. And 3.0 was the one where we abandoned the crazy client-side XSL and actually went to doing XML HTTP request as transport for everything, which sucked, as you can imagine. We still did the client-side XSL, if I remember, but it was actually, we did it with XSL.
This was really JSON, at least maybe it was at least REST. I don't think it was.
It was REST. It was
XML.
It was still XML. Output mode equals whatever. That stuff didn't come for a while. And I actually got carpal just from my mouse wheel, from testing the endless scroller, because it was kind of hard to come up with make a unit test for a scrolling event, which I should have done, but live and learn. Hey, look, I injured myself not writing a unit test.
But I think as well is that we had issues with browsers. I won't name names of browsers that wouldn't clean up their cache properly. 'Cause Nick just wrote some awesome cache deletion and pulling the data out, but some browsers didn't honor it. So you'd eventually scroll to a point and the browser would just die.
Oh yeah, no, yes. So we recycled the pages in the scroller. However, these browsers had awful memory leaks because this is just the way it was back then. There wasn't a lot. The garbage collection was dumb, and it would refuse to follow a loop. So if an object had a reference to another object if eventually there was something that had a reference back to the original object, it would just walk away and be like, I'm not garbage collecting that, it can't be done. And so it would sit, and Firefox would just have that memory in use for all time. And you would have pretty quickly exhaust the memory on the system in Firefox and go into swap on the client, which was awesome.
And if you're running Splunk on that same system,
it was really bad.
Everything's bad happens.
Really bad. This build probably doesn't have that bug because we eventually found them all and fixed them all.
Can you search the fish bucket here? Is the fish bucket tracking the file pointers in this one? Index colon.
I don't know the answer to this. Wasn't it the fish bucket? Or?
Yeah, it's underscore. Well, I'm not sure it was. Maybe it was underscore the fish bucket.
Oh my God! Underscore the fish bucket just to make it impossible to find. Yeah, there you go. Hey, let's see pointers.
File tracker CRC log. This is how we stored whereabouts in the files we were indexing lived. So
there's no KB store, so if we had some kind of database we could write things in. Oh wait,
we do.
We do. So this is where the fish bucket's still there.
Yeah.
I think directory monitor still keeps everything in here, right?
Really?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, this is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't generally go to it anymore, but maybe it's because they don't know it's there.
We didn't have good SF Notify APIs were awful back then, so we actually had to implement FS Notify, which is the thing that notifies you when a new file happens or a file is moved, and that API was really terrible on Linux back then. So we basically implemented our own that basically watch things. So that's why we have that init CRC. I think that's a CRC of the first 5,000 bytes of the file, so that when we open the file, we read the first 5,000 bytes, compare the init CRCs, and if they were different, it was a new file. That's why we knew that.
Much of that is still the same. And then I meant to talk about the Splunk Base integration. The first Splunk Base was not called Splunk Base; it was just Splunk.com. And 1.0 GA had a feature where you could look for this event on Splunk.com. And if you clicked it, it posted the text of your event to Splunk.com and displayed it publicly for all users. And as you can imagine, this was a moment where we learned that's not what people want us to do.
It was a platform play.
And our own sysadmin, Sean Casey, I recall him turning red practically when he was we had to tell him there's no way to delete it from Splunk Base from Splunk.com. Yeah, that went out. That got taken out. You can still post it. Splunk.com's really confused and gives you some weird error back now. The host is still there. I think that's it. I went through it too fast. I don't know what I skipped over, but I guess it wasn't too important.
Yeah. But claiming that we didn't have reporting in the here is, I think, a bit before we had the search language, is a misnomer. We had
3.0 definitely did.
Before the pipe search language, we had reporting, but it was very much SQL style, right? It was when we were building those.
You're right.
Back here, we had
the output colon stuff for output,
and you had you could do the XML had 3 sections.
Here?
That's why when we're selecting those fields, you're selecting down to sections and those event types.
Okay. Can I get to that in here? I wonder. Oh, this is not. I'm terrified to look at. This is not a good idea. Hey, look, we're getting an XSL file. I guess the cache isn't working. So it must have been in the Python that we constructed the rest of the search language.
What's the request for this look like?
Take it?
Pull up the request payload.
Sure.
Maybe it's on here. I can't remember what it was, but
maybe we asked for a rollup.
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't.
Go to event types.
I think this was actually all done inside Splunk Web because these janky sources URLs. This is me not knowing how to make a proper REST API.
Event type should trigger something. Oh, that actually was just rendered.
They already had it. Yeah. We actually got them all up front for some reason. Yeah, I think it was in Python that we constructed the search language, so no one downstream ever saw it. It was kind of our own private reporting layer.
Yeah, it was very, 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 very bad.
If it had been better, we would probably released it. But then 3.0, their pipes started appearing, and we built that UI. And
full credit to David Crossan for that.
Yeah,
I fought him on it, so I was clearly wrong.
Yeah, in the 4.0 cycle, Carasso decided that we needed to go back and instead of the half-ass search language with the pipes, we needed to build a whole-ass search language with like everything happening in that layer. And we were like 2 weeks away from 4.0 like releasing, like going out the door, and we had to start again, basically, which was great, which was super exciting. But that happened several times. That's why 4.0 has like rebuilt everything. The entire UI was blown up and rebuilt. The search language was blown up and rebuilt. Like pretty much anything you name it kind of got redone. And the price of that was we lost a lot of these fancy, finicky, fragile features like the endless scroller, like the fancy reporting UI with the bidirectional updating, and dark mode. Or we didn't even call it that. We called it the black skin because we didn't care what things were called. The basic
very
skin
politically correct.
and the black skin. Doesn't sound good now, but it seemed we didn't have a problem with it back then, I guess.
Routine never had a problem with it.
Yeah. I recall saying to someone who worked in HR when they didn't want me to pay someone a certain amount of money, I said to them, I think you misunderstand the nature of our relationship. And I was just, that's how much we were kind of jerks. But hey, I hired the guy, so.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else.
There's the lookup and the share event links, by the way.
Oh, should we fire an event at Splunk Base?
To be very
Wait for it. I'm so excited.
How do we DDoS Splunk Base using this?
I think we had to open the window and then do the window and then.
Oh, something's happening. Headlamps at Splunk.com.
Yeah, okay. Headlamp is still there. I don't know what it's supposed to do anymore, but I guess the host is still there. Remember Cave? Before we had a VPN, everything was SSH channels, so kind of a long time with no VPN, if I remember right. Oh, okay. Well, good.
That's what we posted, though. That's an encoded event.
Encoded it in transit to then display it in plain text on the website.
That's a lookup, yeah.
Winner of the Not Clear on the Concept Award.
No, actually, that's
we
an
doing.
encoded lookup to say look up similar events.
Okay.
And that's the encoding we used to. I think it was a.
Oh, was it similar?
Weird encoding we used to generate
that was the event
similarity.
Type.
Yeah,
that was the event type. That was the event type. So that was the non-hash version of the event type.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the event types he built. This is Carasso again, of course. Anything worth talking about at sufficient length was probably Carasso.
Yeah.
He had like 7 layers in the original typer, and it was so they were like one of them, like level 4, was basically what you now call punced. It was just a hash of the sequence of punctuation characters, and everyone laughed at him until they saw how it worked pretty well. So okay, fine. And then at the end was like non-dictionary keywords. It was just jammed together and hashed.
So yeah, the idea was that it was hierarchical. So you could search, could do a prefix search. You could then search for a prefix of the event type.
Similar, here. Yeah, so if I search for similar, it says go to event type 4 and then go 3 layers down in the 7-layer tree, and then match all event types that are at that level of the tree. I have hardly any data indexed here. Normally you'd have event type : 15,000 or something. It was pretty neat. I don't remember what related was, except that you could segfault Splunk with it. I guess that's what I should end on.
Yeah. So related, you see, that's actually the seek address, right?
Yeah.
So related, there's a TF-IDF match. It looks for the least frequent terms in your event that are somewhat frequent in the index and
Oh,
searches
God.
for them.
Is this what became connected later?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this
Yeah.
became connected later. No one could answer what it did except for you.
Like I said, it was the sizzle. It was the sizzle, not the steak.
So let's segfault. Let's
Yeah.
segfault.
Well,
Add some more
oh,
integers
God.
and bye bye.
Fitting end.
Yay! Everyone who worked on these products, they were amazing, and it was like the best time ever. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Pleasure. It was fun. I've had. Great pleasure. Awesome.